The Fan welcomes some great shows to Mystic Lake Amphitheater this year. The Guess Who will be there June 25th, 311, and the Dirty Heads will be there July 11th. And John Mellencamp will be there July 14th. Get all the details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Left side, into space. Thomas is on it. Save. Mosquera. Big one. Because of it.
Not the best angle, but.
All right. Well, hey, we're just flipping through YouTube videos, and I thought I heard JP Delacamera's voice. At one point, I even heard the word Ghana. So I think we were playing. Do we got it?
Thomas is on there, got free. He's in the box. That's out there across. 10 to go. You're into.
In the 90th plus 5 minute last evening, and it was a little rainy there. It was a little rainy. Welcome in studio, Papa from Ghana. You can use that little slider there, Papa, in your headphones. There we go. Okay. No, first of all, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm very well.
No, that's good. No, I apologize. For new guests, I usually run through the dynamics of how the consoles work. That's my fault. Now we can hear each other. First of all, good to see you, but I was running through this. Yesterday, it was rainy. It was kind of ugly out there. Temps are low. It was a grind of a game. Panama giving you everything and more in the first half. And I even tossed out a couple texts. I need Semenyo to get back in this game, and we have a chance. We just need one or two opportunities. And it took until the absolute 11:59-ish hour of the game. Right. And you heard Urenchi find that goal. And by the way, Thomas Asante drives that whole thing with the run he made prior to the delivery. How special was that for you? You're at a watch party. What kind of party was it for you seeing that victory last night?
It was a big deal. A big deal in the sense that a game of soccer, we always say, is won in 90 minutes. If the last whistle is not gone, you still have a chance.
Yeah.
So I must say that Panama played way better than us. They had the first half. We got it. But this is the team that we think we can beat in our group. So Ghana, at this point in time, is 5 hours ahead of us. So as we were watching at 6 p.m. our time, the game was running from 11 p.m. to like 1 a.m. in Ghana.
Right.
So when the goal came, where I was, we were about 30, 40 people, like people up, yelling, everybody jubilating, a 73-year-old coach going on his knees. So when you score a goal in soccer and it's a winning goal, so late, it's a dagger. It's a heartbreak. So it was jubilation in Ghana, but heartbreak for Panama.
Yeah, absolutely. And, no offense, but with England and Croatia around the corner for your favorite team, kind of felt like this was the best opportunity to get a W here in this tournament?
On paper, yes. But at this point in time, we are ahead of Croatia. We have a win.
Yes.
And they don't have a win.
That's correct.
So when you play in a three-team bracket, game 2 is very, very important. So Croatia needs to get a win against Panama. They might struggle because Panama is very physical.
Yeah.
And Panama doesn't want to get out. So at this point in time, before yesterday's game, I had Croatia ahead of us, but we have 3 points. We can get a result against Croatia. Right now, I'm very hopeful about Ghana, even though before the tournament, what I saw yesterday, you win game 1, you can decide your fate in game 2.
Yeah. The ability of your squad to sustain yesterday, the first half was ugly, Papa.
Yeah.
And you have this goalkeeper. Now, sadly, Ati Ziggy went out, and I think it was Asare that came in. Okay, perfect. And even he got nicked up towards the end, that final play melee. Somebody kicked his hand. I think it was Harvey from Panama. Yep. But that guy's insane. I loved watching Ati Ziggy. Now, he ended up hurting himself, as I called it when I was texting him. I'm like, if this guy doesn't calm down, he's going to injure himself, and he did. But it sounds like the way that this team came together in some ways, from a roster, the amount of time they've spent playing together, that this was kind of a short time build-up in terms of getting the coach in place and getting everything organized for the Cup. And they roll out there and find themselves 3-point on the first game. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was evident in the first half. And like you mentioned about the coach, we were the last team to replace the coach. Our coach came in just last month, Carlos Queiroz. He played only one friendly game with the team against Wales, 2 weeks for the tournament. So this is his second full outfit.
Right.
Now we have something called the attrition rate. Like how many players are you losing in a 4-year period? Our 2 central defenders, that was the first time they were playing in a competitive game. So it makes Ziggy shaky. You normally want to go into a tournament, you're like, okay, I have 3 or 4 defenders from the last tournament, so we knew, those of us who are following it, we were going to struggle in the first half. But we got lucky, let me put it that way. We got lucky. Panama could have gotten a goal against us and would have changed the dynamics, but as a Ghanaian, I'm happy that we won.
Yeah. And I was happy kind of riding this wave with you. And part of the reason I wanted to bring you in is I'm obsessed with this tournament. And we've gotten the chance over, it feels like, what was it, World Cup 2014, the first time we started talking about the sport. And just really have enjoyed your wisdom on this. But there's an element of this within this sporting event. So one of the reasons I love the World Cup is the opportunity to just learn anything I can about this cultural festival that takes place. And as an American, as a Minnesotan, and despite loving the sport, watching the growth of Africa, specifically in this sport over the last 25 years, in some ways, to be honest with you, was something that I couldn't fathom. And so, but now it's here. There are 10 African countries in the field, and 2 or 3 of them are making their debuts. And in particular, how cool was that keeper's game against Spain?
Yep.
I mean, that killed a lot of bets earlier this week, Papa. Not knowing that Cape Verde was going to put on the performance that they did. But those little moments, right? We love those moments within the tourney and those stories. But specifically, the fact that you are from Ghana, you know the country well, you know the continent well. From your perspective, just starting off, did you see this growth of soccer in Africa bringing its way into the biggest tournament? And what has it meant to you and those that are overseas right now cheering on their favorite countries?
Yeah, no, I mean, I did. It used to be that Africa had 2 places in the World Cup, and I think the last 3 World Cups, they gave us 5 places.
Yeah.
So that is part of the growth. The other reason why some of us are saying that Africa needs more places is that if you watch this tournament, let's put the South Americans aside.
Okay.
Every major European country has somebody of African descent playing for them. Even Australia played 3 players of West African descent. So we are saying that without the African descent players, Europe cannot grow. France won the first World Cup in 1998 and was basically a lot of children of African immigrants. Today, if you see the French national team, they play only 2 European players. The rest of the players are of African descent. And we'll come to that in terms of the US. So look at England. You have Bakayo Saka, Nigeria, Noni Madueke, Nigeria, Gueye, Cote d'Ivoire. Germany, for instance, is playing a lot of players of African descent. So we are saying that we need more spaces because our players are dominating the European teams because their fathers and grandparents have gone to play there.
Yeah.
And we are taking that space. So you want to go to a World Cup final, you're a European team, you are not going to make it without a player of African descent.
Yeah, you've seen it. France is a great example, whether it's and part of this too, immigration of people, driving a ton of this. I think about Karim Benzema, Team France, the Algerian connection is heavy there. Moroccan, of course, and where I'm speaking of North Africa. Yep. But now you're seeing that, like you mentioned, multi-continent. This is jumping all over the place. How's the reception been back home? And I don't know much about Ghana. I look online and it's like, ooh, those beaches look pretty damn good. But Accra and some of these places, like, how special is it for them when they get to see the Black Stars on the biggest screen?
So Ghana, like most of West Africa, we are a one-sport nation. So even my 94-year-old mother has an opinion on the national team. I mean, it's a national standstill.
Yeah.
If the national team is playing, if let's say, okay, yesterday was late, but if it's a 6 p.m. game, people are leaving work early. Because everybody is going to watch the game, to prepare for the game.
Yeah.
So the whole country is at a standstill when the national team is playing.
Everything stops.
Everything stops. It's World Cup.
Wow.
Everybody's watching World Cup. So like I mentioned earlier on, Ghana is 5 hours ahead of us at this point in time. So we had 6 p.m. kickoff Central Time. It was 11 p.m. People were up from 11 p.m. through 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Ghana time. I mean, the party was ongoing. I had friends who went to Toronto, and they were at the stadium in Toronto like 4 a.m. our time partying. So it's when there's a big tournament like the World Cup, the whole of Africa stops because we don't have baseball, hockey, football, basketball to compete with it.
Right.
It is just soccer, as we call it here, but football back home.
Yeah, and you were going to mention it too, the African Cup of Nations, and you were talking off air. You got the chance to go down to South Africa and do that. You said late 90s, 96.
That's
okay,
right.
Perfect. But there's this interesting community aspect of it where, regardless of the fact you're from Ghana, you're going to root for Ghana.
That's right.
But let's go Senegal. Right there's this other element of it where it is all Africa stops for the tourney, but all Africa kind of stops for Africa.
That's right.
As part of the tourney, is that right?
Yes, that's true. I mean, Senegal, the defending African champions, is one of the teams that I expect to do well. We have 10 African teams for the first time. My expectation, or the Africa expectation, is that 6 teams should get out of the group stages.
Get out of the group.
Yes.
6 to 10?
Yes.
Okay.
We think it's doable. Senegal will do it. Egypt will do it. Morocco will do it. Cote d'Ivoire will do it. Ghana will do it. And one other team will come. And if we get 6 out of the...
Why didn't you mention Tunisia?
They've lost already. They've lost already. So though, if you don't...
Why didn't you mention Cape Verde? That's tough.
Yeah. But what we want to make for this World Cup is that if we can get at least 6 African teams into the round of 32, we can move 4 into the round of 16. The last World Cup, Morocco was the first African team to get to the semifinals. Our goal is that we should have 3 African teams in the quarterfinals. At that point in time, we have a shot. If we get 2 African teams in the semifinals, which is difficult, it means that for the first time, an African team can play in the World Cup final. We are getting there. If not this one, it will be the next.
Oh, that would be unbelievable.
Yep.
and historical and a hell of a lot of fun for everybody in Africa. You mentioned kind of the African engagement in the World Cup. So what we can touch and feel is that there are 10 countries in the World Cup. Super cool. But the thing that we don't necessarily think about is how, in getting back to African players, the immigration aspect of it, why is that happening? And kind of just, like Congo, for instance. Congo hasn't been in the tournament since 1974. Well, it's not just because they had an awful team for half a century. It's actually because the country's changed power multiple times. There have been politics involved. There have been wars involved. Those sorts of things, maybe getting to the right side of that, getting through that, can be part of the bonding that goes into rooting for these countries on the stage.
Yeah, so it used to be that when it was only 2 places for Africa, you get only 2 teams representing the continent. Then when they moved it to 5, people realized that, we are seeing African players who were not born in Africa, but born to African migrant parents bring their kids to play.
Yeah.
So other countries watch it. So, for example, Balogun, the U.S. striker, born in New York to Nigerian parents. His parents moved to London when he was a kid.
Yep.
So he lived in London throughout his life. So by birth in New York, he can play for the U.S. By being born to Nigerian parents, he can play for Nigeria. Living in England, he can play for England. Now, people look at it and he says, well, I've got Harry Kane ahead of me. So now the players have a choice to make.
Yeah.
I can play for 3 countries, but I want to play for my mother's country. Or I want to play for my grandmother's country. Because for them, that is the only way they can elevate the continent. So some of the kids, for instance, like Congo DR, some of them have never been to Congo. But it's your parents' country. It's your grandparents' country. You just want to go and show the craft.
Right.
So you talked of Senegal. Senegal plays against France. Most of the boys in Senegal were born in France. And some of them make a choice. I want to play for Senegal instead of playing for France. Cote d'Ivoire has a boy. His brother is big. Desiree Doué. He plays for PSG. He plays for France. But his older brother plays for Cote d'Ivoire. Same parents, but he chose to play for his parents' country. We're all born in France. So you see this happening because people are like, we all cannot play for the country we were born in.
Yeah.
but we can play for the country of our parents and grandparents to make a shift in the sport.
Okay. Is there, so you love seeing your country on the biggest stage. Is there a frustration if I live in Ghana and I've played soccer and is there any frustration around, I feel like my opportunity was taken by someone who has that connection to Ghana, but they grew up in the Arsenal system
Sure.
in London their entire childhood. They may not have stepped foot in Ghana before. Now they're playing for the national team. I did not get that opportunity. Are there ever those conversations about it?
Well, we have those conversations, but we're saying that the players who did not grow up in Africa, who play for African countries, make our game better.
Okay.
And it's not only a Ghana experience. It's a United States experience. When Klinsmann was the coach of the U.S. national team, he went for these boys who were born in Germany.
He did.
Yes, because they were better players than the players who were here.
Yeah.
They have better coaching systems. So the players who are playing from outside, they understand it better. They have better coaching environments. They don't have a phobia when they see these other players. So Germany, for instance, has a department, I think about 3 guys in the German IFA for the last 15 years. What they do is that they're looking around the world for kids who have something to do with Germany, born outside Germany.
Right.
Can they play? So it's a big deal for people to scout because it's a big game. You cannot look at only one geographical location. So back to your point, we have that conversation, but we want all our better players born everywhere on God's green earth to represent Ghana. We don't want to localize the national team to only those who are in Ghana. No.
Well, in the end, you're putting your country in a spotlight.
Absolutely.
Best players getting the opportunity, and all of Ghana stops. Like, what does a watch party in a city in Ghana look like?
So yesterday, whilst I was watching, I was looking at the watch party at the University of Ghana. So we're talking like maybe like U of M.
Okay, yeah.
So people gather. It's big. An FM station is there. It's like packed.
Right.
So that is the way it is like when there is that. So there are these watch parties all over in the big cities. So like KFAN, for instance, would host a watch party. So the KFAN watch party, maybe at the U of M campus, they're going to have about 10,000 U of M students there.
Do you have a Dugarel's in Accra?
We don't have a Dugarel's, but we have.
But maybe something like that?
Yeah, we do have stuff like that. Like the watch parties are now, we have Super Bowl watch parties, NBA, but let's talk about the World Cup. So we have these big watch parties which are being run by the major radio stations.
Wow.
So people go to the watch party, not in the studio, but they'll tell you where it's at.
Sure.
And people gather there. And people are going to take their seats maybe 4 hours before kickoff. Because everybody wants to get a seat. That's why I say the nation stuff. Some people are not even going to show up to work. And nobody's going to fire you for that because, it's World Cup.
Nobody else shows up either.
No, some people have
save on the electricity bill.
No, people will show up because it's essential. But, if you're not an essential staff, you don't want to drive to work and come back, especially if it's an early game.
Wow, it's amazing because, we joke about it around here. It'd be cool if the Monday after a Super Bowl was a holiday. But in a lot of countries around the world, after a big win for their team and their land, it is a holiday,
It's a holiday.
it?
And not only that, growing up in Ghana, I went to college in the second biggest city called Kumasi. And they have a big...
Kumasi? Okay.
They have a big soccer club there, it used to be those days one of the best in Africa. If they lose a big game on a Sunday, Monday stores will close. People are grieving because let's say the Vikings have lost to the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, don't do that.
So, no, I'm just saying.
No, I get it. It hurts.
Cat food might close, what's it called? Caribou might close. You can no, that's the way it is.
No coffee after a loss.
Yeah. People get so emotional.
Is it free coffee after a big win?
It's not free, but the guy doesn't have the energy to go open his store the next day.
Just spent.
Yeah,
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's terrific. And you mentioned, just clubs. How accessible are clubs in Ghana and in African countries? I do think, again, just the lack of exposure and understanding for me, Minnesotan and American, trying to understand the resources that are available to kids in sports. Is it super accessible for kids to join clubs and develop domestically, even if in the end we're talking about the big clubs and the big resources maybe in Europe?
I would say yes and no. Yes, depending on what part of the country you live in and whether they have an academy. But in terms of the development, there's this idea about the brain drain. The brain drain affecting Africa is affecting Africa at all levels. So it's not only, let's say, the highly educated people who are going to the global North, Europe and America, but the African soccer players also want to go out. So when I was growing up, somebody plays in a league. If somebody can play for a club for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years. But today, a very good player plays like 2 weeks. You go to the stadium. Oh, where is Naldo? Oh, he's playing in Switzerland. Oh, really? So they are taking the players out very early. Because when you get a player very young, you can help him to adapt to the European system.
You can mold him.
You can mold him. 2, when you get a player, let's say, under 17, under 18, the price is cheaper.
Yeah.
But when the player gets to 18 and he begins to play, there's exposure.
Sure.
So you're going to pay more. So Yuenchi, for instance, playing in Norway, he left Ghana very early. But if Yuenchi was in Ghana and he has scored, that goal alone puts him like £10 million player.
Right.
But because he went early, it's a small fee. So people are trying to grab them very early and then move it on. So the brain drain is affecting us at all levels.
Do you kind of feel is that a helpless situation in terms of, just because we're talking about money, when money's involved, that has a lot to say in terms of how this works. But, you'd almost want in some ways it to work in reverse where, instead of, because you're going to have scouts at every game.
Yeah.
And that guy's got a plane ticket in his hand for this young stud playing for his local club in Ghana. The opposite, brain drain, the term you're using, kind of the idea, if we could get coaching to keep some of these kids here and build it up, I feel like that would maybe be advantageous in keeping these kids local. Obviously, it's very difficult, and we're talking, again, about a lot of money. But the idea of trying to keep these kids local if you can.
So there are two things playing out here. One is the fact that we are not able to sustain our soccer leagues like Europe is doing. We don't have TV money for it, and so it affects the clubs. But secondly, the European teams are setting up academies in Africa. So some of these kids are not even going to play for a club.
Oh.
So he goes to an academy being sponsored by a European team. So maybe they go to Mankato, gather all the smart players in Mankato, and they're playing in this academy system. And they're molding them.
And then that's just the pipeline,
that's just the pipeline.
Straight north to Europe.
Yep, that's just the pipeline because it's easier that way. Yep.
Well, I don't know how you combat that. I don't.
It's going to be difficult, but I don't want to use the word hope. I'm just saying that if we can get TV money to grow an African league, or if FIFA can say that, okay, if you are not 18 years or more, you cannot leave the continent. Because these transfer of players are approved by FIFA, and FIFA can make a rule. It might not be labor related, but we're saying that the only way we can grow the game in Africa is that, or South America, is that the players should not leave the continent at a certain age. So for every 10 players who go to Europe,
I wouldn't want that either. I'd want somebody to have the freedom to make the move on and the decision on their own.
Yes, I mean, I'm a crude capitalist. I believe in that, but we're saying that for every 10 players who go to Europe through these agents, it's only about 4 who make it. Some of them don't make it.
Right.
And then, they're living in shitty apartments. You have bad agents, so these are some of the problems we have with the players back home.
No, that makes sense. Yep. That makes sense. Let's do this. Let's pause and maybe just chat about what we have been seeing on the screen as we move forward through the first week. This is tremendous. And thank you for kind of enlightening me on some of that. I mean, again, it's something that should be celebrated as far as the World Cup is concerned, is 10 African nations getting on this stage. The building that's taking place and just the celebration around it. I think it's super cool. Papa from Ghana is going to stay in studio with us, and we're going to chat around the corner. It's Nordo in for PA, 9 to noon.
Hey, the fan has your chance at $2,500. Just enter the keyword, and the keyword is TRIP. The keyword is TRIP at KFAN.com. The keyword is TRIP.
You're listening to Eric.
When you've been injured, the last thing you need is a higher bill at the gas station. That's why Postman Law is giving away $50 gas cards through Sunday, June 21st. Get in now. Postman delivers for you, even at the pump. Enter free, postmanlaw.com.
Welcome back. Nordo in for PA. A couple segments left here before we get to the Grum vocal maintenance season. And we are watching Czechia up on South Africa. Again, we've got Papa from Ghana here in studio. And Papa, I know we're rooting for all the African nations here, and I'm with you on it. South Africa's been awful. They were awful against Mexico. They were completely undisciplined, completely discombobulated. They had 2 or 3 guys get a red card. So I know they got to turn this thing around, Papa, because it ain't looking good so far.
Yes, I said earlier on that, when we go to the World Cup, the whole of Africa roots for all the African teams.
Okay, they'll turn it around then.
Africa is not rooting for South Africa right now because in the last few months, South Africa is kicking out African immigrants from the country. Ooh. So because of that, like the Ghana government, for instance, sent a handful of flights there to get Ghanaians out. People are being fiscally beaten and stuff like that. So a lot of African fans are angry. They want South Africa to lose and go back home. They don't want them on that big stage.
Again, that's being an outsider, not really understood. They're kicking other from other African nations.
Sure.
They're booting them out of
They're booting them out of the country.
That's just it's pure ugliness there right now.
So that has turned the continent against them. And this has not happened before. Like I said, when we go to the World Cup, we all root for the African country.
Right.
But
this is different.
Yeah, at this point in time, I have no emotional attachment to South Africa. They've lost game 1. They're already losing this game. It's 1 hour to go. You lose 2 games, you're almost out.
Yeah, it's out.
You're almost out. So I have no emotional is for South Africa. They just even picked up a yellow card. They're too rash. They're too aggressive. I'm surprised they're playing that way. Yeah. I'm surprised they're playing that. And they might lose some more players today because whilst we're watching Tottenham,
that's his second yellow. Yeah, he's out game 3. So yeah, what a disaster for them. Okay. Well, speaking of that, just the influence that Africa has had on the World Cup and other nations outside of Africa, but to the end of international. Well, how about foreign coaches? That's a talker here. You mentioned Jurgen Klinsmann running Team USA a number of years ago now, a decade ago. And they were. I mean, Julian Green off an army base in Germany was a member of that World Cup squad with Jurgen. But now we have Pochettino. He's managing Team USA. He is not an American citizen. He is not native to the United States. If you were up late last night watching Uzbekistan, how about Fabio Cannavaro?
That's correct.
Italian defensive legend, managing Uzbekistan in their, and I think that was their debut as well.
Yes.
And they did their thing. They lost, but Colombia put 3 on them. But they scored a goal. How about that? Record, history has been made, so good luck to them. But what do you think about foreign coaches managing teams?
I'm a big supporter of that.
Okay.
This is a big tournament. We have 48 nations.
No World Cup winner has ever done it with a foreign coach. Okay.
To live is to change. The world is about breaking records. The New York Knicks won the NBA.
They did.
After many years.
I like that.
Records can be broken.
Change can be okay.
Yeah. So there are 48 nations in this World Cup. Out of this 48, 28 are foreign coaches. And I'm a big fan of the foreign coaches argument. There are 6 coaches from Argentina and 1 is from the U.S. And this is where I disagree with the likes of Alexi Lalas and some of the U.S. Former players. It's a big talk.
Yeah.
In major countries, like even in Ghana, we have this argument. People say, let's pick a local coach. And some of us are like, no, do not determine your national coach because of where the coach was born. Get the right job for the guy, the right person for the guy. So we had, is it Berhalter for the last World Cup?
Berhalter,
he didn't do well.
No, wasn't good.
Coach comes in,
Brett sitting back there behind you, he's seething. He can't stand that man.
So, but I love, he's magic, Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I like Mauricio too. But look at a country like Brazil. For the first time, Brazil, the only country that has won the World Cup 5 times, goes to the foreign coach.
Yep.
Because they're seeing that you cannot give the team to your national. You make it very easy. England, a team that I'm tipping very well, has a foreign coach for the 3rd time. So this argument about foreign coaches, the rest of the world must accept it. Why? Because most of the better players play in Europe. And they're playing under these European coaches. So when you have an MLS coach coaching the U.S. men's national team, and you have a player like Pulisic playing in AC Milan, when they come to the national team, and they look at the local coach, they're like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. There's disrespect.
It's a step down in class, for sure. Yeah.
They see that. And then players respect them. So, like, when Mauricio tells players that, hey, I'm going to play this way, they listen. If you don't do it this way, I'll bench you. If it's a local coach, they don't want to do that. So I'm very happy that we have all these foreign coaches there.
If I could give you a standing ovation, I would. That's just seal of approval on that.
Well, it's interesting too, and it kind of sets. I wonder if it sets the America back a bit, because you're not going to see. I wouldn't believe it anytime soon, and it may not even be because of quality. Like Jesse Marsh, he jumps up, he's coaching with Canada, right? But I just couldn't fathom the idea of any significant American coach ever breaking through the gate of a European club of any size.
Well, I mean, Jesse Marsh did it. Somebody can get it. It takes time. When you are in that space, you get a chance.
Yeah.
But, so let's take youth soccer, for instance. After World Cup 94, a lot of European coaches came to America because at that time there was a transition from parents, soccer dads who were coaching to coaches. But most of them were from England. And I disagree, because England does not produce good coaches and England does not export coaches. So one of the ways we can develop the game in the US is that we need to pivot and look for coaches from the continent. And I have some English guys who are coaches who are not like this. There are too many Englishmen coaching youth soccer in America. It's not helping us. That's one. Two.
But they have an English accent, Papa, so they must know a lot about soccer.
Yeah, they do have an English accent, but you know, what's his name? Angelotti is Italian. He's coaching Brazil. People can understand it. We have had Germans come to coach in Ghana, and you know, you're going to pick some verbiage. They're going to understand it. But the point I'm trying to make is that before we talk about Team USA, one of the ways we can develop the game in America right now is that we need to look at who are coaching our youth. And from my experience, and I consider myself somebody informed in this game, we have too many coaches at youth level, at high level from England. We need to pivot to coaches from the continent to South America. We also have too many Englishmen coaching the MLS. We need to pivot. We need to get coaches from places like Germany, from France, from Eastern Europe, and they will change the mindset. If we can do that, then America can go into the next World Cup and say, we want to go to the quarterfinals. But because we are not having very good coaching at youth level and college level, we struggle. That is why a guy like Pochettino wants to get guys from outside, because they know the level of coaching that is happening at the lower level. They are not dumb.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend. We're going to pause one more time, and then we will chat about Team USA. 2 o'clock tomorrow. It is the Americans and the Aussies. And there's going to be a watch party, by the way. Dugarel's in Hastings at 2 p.m. I'm going to be down there. Philip Dugarel's. And we're going to have drink specials. We're going to have games, prizes, some swag that we'll be giving away all throughout the match as the Americans try to go 2 for 2 with a W over Australia. We will talk about that and more with Papa as we put a wrap on the show around the corner, 9 to noon.
You're listening to...
Final segment, 9 to noon on a Thursday. Final segment with Papa from Ghana. His squad handling business last night with a late-night shocker, a stunner, a dagger, as he would call it, against Panama. And 3 points go to the Ghanaians, go to the, I believe the nickname is Black Stars.
That's correct.
Okay, yes,
That's
good. I have that correct. To my favorite club, my favorite country, Team USA.
Yeah.
It was that was less shocking, but it was a pure dismantling of Paraguay nearly a week ago. Tomorrow against Australia. Just using your keen eye, what did you think of Team USA? And what did you think of the foreign coach running the operation night one and bringing that forward into tomorrow's matinee with Australia?
For every American soccer fan, I just want to say that for the first time, we have a U.S. team that is very, very competitive compared to the last World Cup. Now, if you watch the game between Germany and the U.S. at Soldier Field before the tournament, the U.S. played against a top team. Even though we were 1 goal down, we came back and we lost. The U.S. is very attack-minded. And all this has come in at the right time. I know Pochettino was struggling before the tournament in terms of getting the team, but he's got the team to gel at the right time. That's point number one. Point number two, Paraguay had played very well before the tournament, but the U.S. beat them well and sound. We got the ball into the final third very well. There's Balogun, who comes to his first World Cup. He did very well with England as a teenage striker. He broke a lot of records.
Yeah.
So when you go to the World Cup, the big stage, and
he's in Monaco now, right?
Yeah, he's in Monaco. When you go to the big stage, you have to announce your presence. He has scored 2 goals. If he gets 1 goal, he's like, I'm part of the big striking force. So can the U.S. advance against Australia? Yes, they can. Yes, Australia has a good coach. For me, the only challenge for the U.S. is when they commit to free kicks and set pieces. Australia has a very tall defender. He's like one of the tallest players in the tournament. That can be a problem because Team USA is weaker in defense. That is why Poch is trying to play very high. But under Pochettino, I expect Team USA to get out of this group. They already have a win. Not only that, in the round of 32, I expect Team USA to get out of the round of 32 and get to 16. At that point in time, it depends on who you are playing.
Yeah.
But Team USA will underachieve if they don't get into the last 16 teams. This is a very, very good team. And this is a very, very good coach. And we have, the bench is better. The team has an identity. When your team has an identity in a World Cup, it means you're good.
Yeah. Now with Balogun, yeah, I've brought this up a couple times this week. It's just when the World Cup, you mentioned, when you're young, when you're new, you have to announce yourself. This tournament can make kids a lot of money when they show up and they show out. And Balogun, for a team that has been starved for finishing ability at the national team level for a very long time, as good as Pulisic is, he can't be your chief creator and always your leading goal scorer at the same time. We need that other guy.
Sure.
Do you think Balogun could potentially be that guy?
He's shown it so far. It's his first World Cup. This is what strikers do. So take England yesterday. Harry Kane missed a PK very early. Retake, he scored.
Yeah.
Balogun scored the first goal. He was offside. He came again to score. You know, when you are in, we have 2 types of strikers. The international striker, like Balogun, like Kane, has to give you a goal every 2.5 games. He gave us 2 in the first game. If you are an international striker and after every 3 games you're not scoring, it means you're not up there. So US has 3 games. The US striker has scored 2.
No need to rip Cristiano Ronaldo, by the way. Jeez.
We can talk about Cristiano, but
another time.
Cristiano Ronaldo has done very well, but there is a sunset.
There is a sunset.
And this is his sunset.
I think the sun's gone down.
But Balogun, if he scores against Australia or in the next game, he's telling the world that, people, I scored a lot of goals in England as a teenager. I had to choose between England, Nigeria, and the USA. I chose the USA because I was born in New York City. I am scoring on the world stage. We have a Ghanaian striker. His name is Samoa Jan. You know, so Jan, for instance, scored in every World Cup. It's not easy scoring in a World Cup.
That's impressive.
So when you score in a World Cup, you score 2 in your first game. US was not playing Cape Verde or Curacao. They were playing Paraguay, which is big on the continent.
They're a real nation.
So we do have a legit striker. So what is going to happen is that if, let's say, he can score 4 or when you score 4 or 5 in the World Cup, you're big. He's going to leave Monaco because Monaco, it's a good team, but he wants to now go to a bigger team in Europe.
Well, and Monaco potentially also wants to get paid with the trade chip.
Exactly.
For transfer fees.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm very hopeful about this team.
Feels like United States tomorrow.
It's a win.
It feels like it's a win, but it's going to be gritty. The United States are going to have the ball 75% of the time, and they're going to have to break down this turtle shell operation that Australia played in against Turkey.
Yeah,
they sustained 30 attempts against Turkey.
Yeah, so
and 2 quick counters sent them the other way and won, but that was a grind of a game. I think this is going to be a battle for Team USA.
I don't think it will be a battle for Team USA for this reason. I mentioned earlier on in the 3-game format, game 2 is very, very important.
Yeah.
So USA won the first game, Australia won the second game. Australia has one of the smartest coaches in this tournament. At this point in time, he's not interested in going to beat the USA. He's interested in qualifying for the next round. So what is his game plan? He needs a result. A result is that you don't lose. If he gets a chance to win, he will win. But if they get a point, they are in the next round.
Yes.
Then he can rest players. But the USA would want to win because it's good to be on top of your group.
Sure.
We need to win more to bring more people. They are the host nation. There's a lot.
So you think they open it up a little bit?
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to be. The US cannot sit back. If we sit back, it's going to be different from the Australians because the US cannot play defense because our weakness is in defense.
It is.
Yes, we don't have a top 10 goalkeeper.
Yeah, Brett thinks Tim Ream shouldn't even be allowed to play soccer.
Yeah, but who should? What's the alternative?
That's the problem.
I asked him the same thing, and nobody has an answer. This has been delightful, man. And I just, we've talked many times, texting for the most part, and you've joined periodically, but the chance to have you in studio, let me ask you dumb questions about Ghana, ask you about Africa, and just how much this means to that continent, what it means to your country. It's one of my favorite things about the World Cup is just understanding. You put it in a text you sent to me. This is a big geography lesson, but I think there's a sociology lesson as part of this, and understanding more about the people that are back home celebrating. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and let me say a couple of things on that quickly before we go. One, about the geography. Like I was just telling you guys during the break that I love national anthems. Like World Cup games, I want to listen to national anthems. Like I love the national anthem of Argentina. I don't know what they're singing, but it touches my soul. I love the national anthem of Croatia. So these are some of the things we learn about that. And I also like to give some shout out about the viewing parties. So myself and some friends, we are hosting a viewing party at Forgotten Star in Fridley tomorrow.
I know the Forgotten Star. Yeah, that's awesome.
Forgotten Star, we'll be doing that tomorrow. It's going to be big. There's a place I went to yesterday in Northeast. It's called St. Lucia. They're also hosting African games.
Okay.
The reason why I bring up the hosting parties is that the game has to grow.
Yeah.
And one way the game will grow is people have to watch it.
Yeah. And have to party.
Yeah, in an organic environment. When you're American and you sit in your suburb and watch it, it's not fun like watching with groups.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, thanks again. Such a fun time. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for listening to 9 to Noon. The Grum is next right here on The Fan.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
From the 1